Hello and welcome to the 121st episode with the same forwards as backwards of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. And, everybody's talking Toronto. So I did some homework. And here's my fact that I didn't believe, and I used to work in the NBA.
Okay.
Toronto is the number 2 revenue team in the NBA after Golden State.
Wow.
More than the Lakers, more than the Knicks.
That is shocking.
I know. But they have, their sponsorship is top notch. There's tickets. They have a 7,000 person waiting list on their tickets. They have a cap on their season tickets so they can sell individual tickets and group tickets and small partial plans. So that's always smart because you keep people in your queue, in your pipeline. But I was just blown away that they're the number 2 team in the entire NBA.
I would say watching these games, it also looks like a really fun place to be. I mean, the arena itself.
Well, the arena looks, and I went to a game there, and it was loud. But I went to like one of those meaningless games the first week of March, or the first week of March, or it was first week of April. So I went to like one of the last regular season games, and it was like they were really into it. They played the Magic, and they were really into it. But I was just thinking, whatever. But the Jurassic Park outside is incredible.
That's just good business.
Yeah, and it's kind of the national team of Canada.
Yeah, and people pointed out like the Canadians was the last championship, and that was like 16 years ago in the NHL. So it's a city they haven't had much success in recent time either.
And this is just really well. Even when I worked at the NBA, they were always a really good, well-run team. Always a real well-run team. But the interest really wasn't as where it is right now. But this is off the chain. They're the only team with a practice jersey sponsor and a jersey sponsor, and they're both different.
Oh wow, very cool.
So they've done a lot. But I love the waiting list. And I'm sure the waiting list might even double this year after the playoffs.
Well, depending on what happens over the next 3 games, and obviously with the team in general. I mean, this could be a total rebuild even if they win the championship in 1 year. Because you could lose Gasol, Kawhi, DeRozan. Boom, all gone. Yeah. Lowry. They lost DeRozan last year in the Kawhi trade. Lowry, sorry, Kyle. I don't mean to disrespect Lowry.
But they've had a lot of exposure. I mean, people might see that and say, wow, I like to play there.
I think if you're a kid, they have a really cool jersey.
Yeah. And the other thing I found out is, they thought about 8 or 9 years ago about changing the jersey, changing the name of the team.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then they remade the Jurassic Park movies, and they're back to being where they need to be.
And they obviously have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and it's great.
There's a lot of blow-up dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
And as I told you off air, tonight, for their national anthem, for the big game to potentially clinch the NBA championship at home, they don't have anybody singing the Canadian national anthem. They want everybody in the stands to stand up and sing, which I think is a really cool move.
I think it's a really, really good move. It's really trying to set the tone for closing out at home tonight.
Yeah, it was like, I think if you're a player, that's going to I can't imagine that not pumping you up,
Well, so it brings us to my inability to predict and my ability to be wrong every time.
I think
so. If I say that the Raptors will close it out tonight, then I would tell everybody that listens to us that you should have bet on Golden State to win. If I bet on Golden State, if I say Golden State's going to win tonight, then I would tell you the Raptors are going to close it out. And I had Golden State in 5 games.
I would say, given the nature of this series, I give you a pass. I just, with all the injuries and everything else that's happened in this series, I don't know anyone that could predict this for the most part.
Well, you know what? You give me a pass for picking Portland to go all the way too. I have been deadly wrong. I could have cost people lots and lots of money if they were betting on what I said.
So who do you like tonight? And having said that, with the return of Kevin Durant, no less.
I just don't think Kevin Durant can be a factor after not having played for 9 games. I mean, I think he's going to have moments, but I think his team has to adjust to him being back too.
Exactly. And
I don't think Toronto has to do a lot of adjustments. So that's what I'm going to say.
Like I said, I think they're going to come out on fire. I think Kawhi has done something that I don't think a lot of stars are able to do. And I know they invoked the name Michael Jordan, but like he seems to know how to pick moments really well. And I don't necessarily see that from Kyrie or Durant or other players. Like it seems like he just knows, you look at that third quarter and he came out and nailed those 2 3-pointers. Or the beginning of the last game when his team was a little flat and he scored 17 of the first 20 points. Like it seems like he knows what to do and when to do it and just,
He played on some great teams in San Antonio.
He did.
And he had great coaching. And I think that, because really, when he was coming out of college, who the hell knew who he was?
He was a 17.
He wasn't.
And he couldn't shoot.
Yeah, and he played at Missouri, right?
I thought he played at a smaller school. I mean, I should look that up. But I just know that, like, the knock on him is that he couldn't shoot. And you figure now that's almost the biggest red flag in the world where, and it makes you wonder, like, was he just a diamond in the rough that had this the entire time, or did he really work harder? Like, why was his shot able to be fixed to the point that he's an incredibly effective scorer now? And so many other players come through and they just can't get their shot together.
I'm going to give Popovich a lot of credit for making him who he is.
Yeah.
In his own work ethic. But you know what? He also listens to the beat of his own drum. I mean, he's not a Me Too guy. He's pretty quiet. He does what he's going to do. I know he's probably already made up his mind what he's going to do. He doesn't talk about it. He's not going to probably talk about it tonight. They're all going to ask him after the game if he's going to be back. He's going to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I would be shocked if he hadn't already made a decision.
Yeah. And as we talked off there too, like Golden State's been in a tough position because you had, Boogie's never really been the same coming off the injury. He had the nice game too, but just not much. Iggy was hurt. Kevin Durant's obviously been out. They lost Clay. And then a lot of people have been saying that they thought the move might have been restrict Curry's minutes in that game. Don't try to win that game, which I know sounds counterintuitive. But then all of a sudden you come to Friday on 2 days rest and you had a worn out Steph who looked worn out. But a healthy Clay, they weren't able to get it done. So you end up losing, maybe if you had rested Steph a little bit more, you split those 2 games and you're down 3-2, 2-2 or whatever, as opposed to down 3-1 looking at it. And again, you never know about speculation, but what I heard is that the plan was for Kevin Durant to practice with the team and then continue practicing with some of the young guys to try and, get off some of the rust. Mm-hmm. But he only played like half the scrimmage with the regular team and left with ice on, all over his legs. So,
I mean, it's going to be a Willis Reed moment tonight. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah. And, I don't know how much is on his mind, but I mean, he's obviously got, I think regardless of if he gets hurt again tonight, he's still getting a max deal from New York or LA or pretty much anywhere he wants. But I mean, I'm sure it's in the back of his mind, like,
Yeah, he's getting a max deal, and Kawhi's getting a max deal from somebody. So,
yes, because people with Kawhi, and this is probably something to talk about too, is that a lot of people thought for him maybe a 1-1 with Toronto if they win the championship would be the best way to go. Try to run it back and have the option of either staying with the team for a player option for 2. But given his injury history and recent injury history, he might really want to just go all in and cash in and get the max deal from whatever team he wants to sign with. So. I don't think he can be quite the mercenary that, other players maybe would be in that position.
And we still think Clippers? Are we thinking Nets now? What are we thinking?
I think Toronto's going to close it out tonight.
No, I mean for Kawhi next year. We thinking Clippers? We thinking Nets? The Nets made some moves this week. Really, they have like almost $50 million in cap room.
I haven't, considering his aversion to Toronto in the first place was the weather. And obviously, we have family in Toronto. We've been to Toronto. Toronto's clearly colder than New York, but not significantly so,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're taxes are bad in New York. So, I mean, I don't see him going to New York. I feel like he's in a great basketball situation. He was able to miss 22 games. He was able to play like 31 minutes. He's got a great coach in Nick Nurse who's done a phenomenal job in these finals. Like, I think unless you really want to go home to LA and you want to play in that warm weather, and that's been your goal the entire time, I don't see him leaving. I think it's either LA or Toronto. And I think it's the Clippers.
Oh, I definitely think it's the Clippers.
But I just feel like, Toronto has done everything to make sure you get the right minutes. They've worked on your health. They put you in a great position. Anunoby, or I always pronounce his name right, but like he's not even playing right now. He's a nice young player. Toronto's in a good position right now. And I think if you win the championship, I feel like if you're going to stay in the Northeast, I think you just stay in Toronto.
Well, I mean, they could pay him the most.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to have an unbelievable amount of endorsement opportunities.
Right. And then you figure, then there's also the rumor mill that says that Kawhi Leonard bought some real estate in Canada. But that could be anything. But, just
yep.
That is, because we now live in a world where people's real estate investments in the NBA. And again,
it's going to be
a great city. And like I said, I think it's a great basketball situation for him.
I agree. We'll have to play it out. So I'm gonna go with Toronto tonight. You gonna go with Toronto?
Yeah, which is the double jinx, but I just.
All right, everybody. Well, a good thing this isn't live.
The double jinx, and hopefully Toronto does not, And I am rooting for Toronto right now, so just throwing that out there. I like them.
As am I. Well, I'm still rooting for Golden State. I mean, I have to. I mean, I really respect the staggering. This is like Rocky VIII, the old man team. So I'm gonna. And they've been through a lot of adversity. I'm still gonna root for them.
And as I said, I think Nick Nurse is doing a phenomenal job with the Toronto.
Agreed.
But I think Kerr is also, kind of has one hand tied behind his back. He's had a lot of injuries, and it just is. He's had to play a lot. And even Looney, who was playing great, it also looks like he broke his. I mean, it just.
Yeah,
they had a great run with a lot of luck health wise, and it just seems like this is the year where they're having to pay the price. And
I mean, none of us picked Toronto to be in the finals. We picked Milwaukee.
Yeah. Well, especially
Toronto was down 2-0 to Milwaukee, and since that time they've been unbelievable.
They have. I would say that I think I was never able to get past my thought that Boston was really the best team in the East. So when Milwaukee dismantled Boston, despite everything else, like I really thought, still from last year, when they took the team without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, to almost the 7th game of the Eastern Conference Finals with Brad Stevens, like I was just all in on that team. So when Milwaukee just dismantled them, I gave them so much credit. And, and again, like we talked with Kawhi, like Kawhi missed 22 games this year. And he was on a minutes restriction where he was only playing like 31 minutes a game in the games that he did play. So they still were the 2 seed. And I think people just sort of slept on them. And I think, and I was guilty of this too. They've been, the Gonzaga of the NBA, the team that, no matter how good they are in the regular season, you're just kind of looking at them like, where they'd seem to get to, they'd be the 2 seed or the 3 seed. They'd get knocked out in the first round. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just one of those things.
Just interesting. We'll see how it goes.
And you saw New Orleans has some really crazy trade demands right now, right?
No, what are they trying to get?
Well, now they said that the only way they think the deal will get done if it's a multi-team deal. But what they're asking for right now is a current All-Star, a young player with the potential to be a future All-Star, and 2 first-round picks. And I
don't think they'll be getting that.
No, I think you can get 2 first-round picks, and you can get a young player like, whether it's Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, any of these guys that could be All-Stars someday. But if you're trading for Anthony Davis, you're trading because you're trying to win a championship. So you can't trade a current All-Star to get him back.
Unless your current All-Star is a malcontent, you want him off your team.
Right. But, you'd have to do a sign and trade with half those guys. And, obviously, if you're Boston, you can't sign and trade the one guy that Anthony Davis wants to play with. And I don't think Kyrie wants to do anything to help Boston out. I don't think D'Angelo Russell counts as it. I mean, I know he was an All-Star, but I don't know if that would technically work for New Orleans. I mean, I know you have to ask for the sky. You have Anthony Davis. Everybody wants him. But that just seems like a pretty steep price even for him. But we will see.
We'll have to see. I mean, the Knicks are going to be desperate, and the Lakers are going to be desperate. But the Lakers don't have that assortment to trade.
Unless you think Brandon Ingram is coming back healthy and you want that weird package of if you got all their young – see, I still don't think all their young players gets it done, though. We've seen all their young players,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want, the Kuzma, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball combination, especially since your favorite guy, LeVar Ball, is back talking again.
Well, thank God. I've been bored.
And he said he asked to be quiet. He said it was simply a matter that he was, working on the Facebook show, and he simply didn't have time to be running his mouth all the time.
Let's hope he comes up with some really good stuff, which I will then see how it translates into entertainment with Keenan on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I know. It's a bummer he's back. We're in the off season. Also, I guess while we're talking about Keenan Thompson, another athlete he impersonates was obviously shot in Big Papi, David Ortiz, and so we wish him well.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, I know they said they beat the guy in the bar. I'm surprised they didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Because Big Papi's like God in that country.
And I know right now he's on a plane back to Boston that the Red Sox are to get him some better treatment up here. So, looks like he's going to be okay, but it's just,
I applaud the Red Sox for doing that.
Yeah. And Keenan Thompson.
Speaking of Red Sox, which might be in Boston, are the Bruins going to add to the legacy of the Boston tonight or tomorrow night, whenever it is?
I really, really hope not.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think that I just for some reason, whenever the Lightning got knocked out, I thought that was who's going to win the Stanley Cup.
And I really sort of felt like, the chance to beat the Bruins was in Game 6. And I don't think Game 7 is a good spot for that.
No, because it's in Boston.
It's in Boston. I mean, I think you had them kind of on the ropes, and they were just like, nah, we're good.
And you threw a beat down on them, 5-1.
Yeah. I think
in their home territory. And did you see the online thing that was congratulating the Blues for being Stanley Cup champs?
I did, which is never, ever a good sign.
How many of those do you think are going to be printed out and waving in Boston in TD Garden? I mean, it's going to be – this one I feel really confident on. I feel confident the Bruins are going to win.
I know. I'm picking them, hoping to jinx them, but I don't think it's possible to jinx them.
I don't either. I just think they have too much.
I mean, Boston's cup has runneth way, way over. They certainly don't need another champion. I mean, they've already got the Stanley Cup this century. They're fine. That should be it. So,
well, I want to talk about College World Series. And I love June because I get the Women's Softball World Series and I get the Men's Baseball World Series. So I think all the teams are set now. And I'm definitely rooting for Vanderbilt with my former student, Coach Tim Corbin, leading the Commodores. And that was an amazing performance by that freshman the other night, 19 strikeouts and a no-hitter. Big kid. He looked awesome. So, in UCLA, the number 1 seed got knocked out. So, the first round will be Vanderbilt. Well, the first round will be, I'm trying to think how it'll be. 1 versus 8. 1's not there. So, I guess they're going to play Michigan because it's whatever pairing that was. So, Michigan will play Texas Tech. But I think I got a lot of hope that Vanderbilt wins. But it was really good. I mean, it's SEC teams. You're going to have Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, 3 SEC teams, 2 ACC teams with Florida State and North Carolina, 1 Big 12 with Texas Tech, won Big Ten with Michigan and Louisville from the AAC. And I guess the heart story here is Coach Martin for Florida State has been coaching for 40 years, has never won the College World Series. So it could be a thing of destiny here, and we'll have to see how that goes.
Yes, indeed.
But it's been fun to watch.
It's very good. Well,
you see the Madison Bumgarner Max Muncy clip?
No.
So Max Muncy hits a home run in the first inning, and Bumgarner doesn't like to be shown up. And Muncy must have taken an hour and a half to circle the bases after staring.
I still like when players do that. I don't care.
So Baumgartner was yelling at him, and they were yelling at each other. And Muncy said something about, if you don't like it, go out in the river, go out in the ocean and get my ball. So I will look for him to get plunked in the next part of this series. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, without it.
It's just one of those things.
That's one of those like I said I still like it. I can't help it. I don't like when players act that way.
Yeah, I know.
Like I know.
Well, there's been a lot of bat flips on ESPN Top 10 lately, and I think that's exacerbating the whole thing. So now that if I know I get on SportsCenter by having the best bat flip, I'm going to have the best bat flip.
Oh yeah. And I think baseball kind of needs that.
That's what a lot of people say.
I mean, you've got I don't know who's watching baseball, but I still don't. I think maybe that's the way to go. I know it's not the most mature, but I still think it might be the way to go.
You got to do something. Got to get the ratings up. Food moments. Do you have any good food moments?
I do. I have a couple.
Okay.
So I was back in Clearwater Beach, and I got to go to all the normal haunts. But I have to give one special shout out to Christino's, which just continues to be incredible food. All homemade pastas, all great. And it's incredibly cheap for what you get. Just an amazing deal.
It is very reasonably priced, and the food is really freshly prepared.
And then
and good quality.
I got some barbecue the other night at Blue Oak Barbecue down here in New Orleans. And the brisket, the ribs, and the pulled pork were all amazing. Now, my caveat for this place is I wasn't a huge fan of the sides, and I didn't love any of the sauces. But the meat was so good, you really didn't even need sauce. So
that's always a good test.
Like it was very, you could taste it was a very flavorful meat. I guess if that makes any sense. It just, it just worked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was back in Pittsburgh at Fiore's, and I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. If I'm a condemned man, or if I know I'm going to die in the next 24 hours, I'm getting on a plane, flying to Pittsburgh, and eating at Fiore's.
It's just.
And so as I sat in there and saw a guy that running the cash register, that when we lived in Pittsburgh, which is close to 30 years ago, he was there as a teenager. And I'm thinking to myself, God, and Fiore and Tony were both there. And I was trying to think to myself, how many pizzas have these guys made since 1970, whatever it is, when they opened up this place? I would love to know the answer to that.
And I have to say this about Fiore's, and this is something I've noticed, like, Cristino's also comes through with this. But not every pizza place does. But, like, those two places in particular, it feels like every pizza they get, they really care about the pizza. And I just, I feel like you go some places and, like, maybe they pull it out a few minutes early just to get it done, or it doesn't feel like, I don't know how to put the intangible quality of love or care or whatever that word would be, but like those two places, like it's so consistent in their greatness.
Well, I know that if I was blindfolded and somebody gave me 10 slices of pizza, I know I could pick out 4.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's so good. It's so distinctive.
It really, really is.
Yep.
We have an interesting follow-up
So I start entertainment.
right?
Oh, let's talk about Moscow. So what we found from Chase told us today.
So I talked about Mosca's, the Italian restaurant I went to a couple weeks ago, which was really good food, very simple. Like I said, it's only open a couple of nights a week, cash only, hard to find. It's not even on your GPS. And we learned some interesting things from a local New Orleans person.
And one of our dear subscribers. So Chase Jones told us that it was owned by Carlos Marcellus, the mob figure in New Orleans. And he brought in Al Capone's chef to start the restaurant. And the restaurant is still owned by Marcello's son. Or at least the building is. So I thought that was really intriguing. That if you're a conspiracy buff, it's within the realm of belief that the Kennedy assassination could have been discussed in that restaurant.
And I like the thought that I eat in a place that took place, so I'm going to just pretend that's real.
And then one of the things that Chase told us is it was out there, and you talked about how off the beaten path it is and how hard it is to find. And then I asked you, is there anything around it? And you said no. And I said, well, that goes with what Chase said about it was put there so they could always have a vantage point, knowing they could see anybody approaching the building.
And you definitely can out there. Yep. And like I said, it is weird that it's 2019 and the GPS still takes you like a mile away from it.
Yeah.
Because at this point I was just nervous. I was like, I'm going to miss my reservation. What am I going to do? And I called them from a gas station. They're like, oh, you're close. They're like, get back on the highway, go down about a mile. You'll see us on the left. And sure enough, you do. But yeah, it's one of those like, whoa. Like they don't have anyone to find their place. And again, like I said, cash only open a couple nights a week, only open for like 4 to 5 hours at a time. Very few tables.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
And like I said, and still really good quality Italian food.
Pretty amazing.
So,
yeah. So when I come to New Orleans next time, first stop.
Oh, I think so.
We got to go.
Like I said, I like it.
Entertainment moment. I started watching the second year of Big Little Lies last night. And I was blown away. They added Meryl Streep to it as the mother of the deceased character from last year. And now there's a lot of, I don't want to give it away, but it's essentially people living with the lie. And she's decided, Meryl Streep's mother obviously doesn't believe any of it, and she's going to get to the bottom of it. And it's she's such a great actress. And the way she was in the series last night was kind of amazing. So I would tell people you got to, if you saw the first year, if you didn't see the first year, go binge it and come back and start watching.
And it's only 7 episodes
because it's really
it's short.
It's short,
which is great. And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I'm going to preview the show a little bit. Matt Swan, one of our subscribers, is going to be on the show with us next week. And Matt is going to talk. Matt is a huge Philadelphia sports fan. So Matt will be talking Sixers smack and giving us his opinions on the draft, as we do talk about the draft next week. Leading up to the draft, I think the draft is Thursday night.
And some breaking news, supposedly, that Anthony Davis is only focused on 2 teams with long-term destinations. Just the Knicks and the Lakers. Those are the 2 teams he said he could see himself being, because he's under contract for the rest of this year. So if you get him, you have him for the year. But I wonder, as you watch tonight, if Kawhi Leonard won a 1-year deal, wins the NBA championship, Paul George, who basically, when he went to Oklahoma City with 1 year left, said, I'm going to LA. Stayed in Oklahoma City. Maybe, some team will be like, you know what, we're going to get him here, get him in our system, get him around our fans, and maybe, just maybe. You never know.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And then we're going to do a minor league baseball show with Corey Bernstein, probably in July.
Very exciting.
And Corey's going to talk about all the crazy promotions that are going on in minor league baseball this year, and some things that people should watch for. So that'd be kind of cool. So those are our two next guests we have coming up.
It sounds great.
Yeah. Are you going to watch tonight?
Well, I'm going to
Jay?
watch.
As am I. I'll watch for at least a half.
Well, I really want to watch. I don't know why, because I usually don't care, but like, I want to watch the fans sing the Canadian national anthem. I think that's a really cool thing to do. I think that's a really good way to like set the tone of your fans for the game for the first. I think it's great. And I want to see what Katie has in the tank tonight, if he has any.
Agreed. All right, let's see it. Everybody, we'll talk to you next week.